You ever wondered why someone might stay in a domestic violence situation? If so, this episode is for you. Join me and Miss Ranika Chaney as she shares her personal story of leaving an abusive marriage, rebuilding her life, and emerging as a mental health advocate to help others to do the same. So please stay tuned. Welcome, everyone, to the Faith and Mental Wellness Podcast. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Miss Ranika Chaney. She is a graduate of Loyola University, New Orleans, with degrees in communications, broadcast, journalism, and sociology. She's a certified mental health coach and a certified speaker for the Charlotte Mecklenburg Domestic Violence Speakers Bureau. Ranika is also the founder of Ranika Speaks, LLC, where she leads her keynote speaking, coaching, and hosting work. Ranika is a motivational speaker who brings a message of hope and healing to audiences nationwide. Her journey is truly inspiring. She left a difficult marriage while pregnant with her fifth child, transitioned into tech work, and eventually started her own business offering after appearing on the Anthony O'Neill Show. Her keynotes, workshops, and programs cover topics like faith, tech, perseverance, mindset shifting, domestic violence, and healing. As a facilitator, Ranika excels at bringing people together for meaningful dialogue and impactful change. As a mother, she deeply understands the importance of nurturing the next generation. Faith is at the core of everything that she does, and she uses her platform to spread God's love and hope. Ranika's warm and welcoming presence as a host creates spaces where people feel comfortable and feel included. Whether she's leading a workshop, hosting a panel, or delivering a keynote address, her dynamic personality and powerful messages always leave a lasting impact. She is dedicated to creating environments where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued, and she empowers others to do the same. Please welcome, you guys, Miss Ranika Chaney.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk with you.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm talking, me too, girl. Me too. You guys are going to be an awesome episode. So please stay to the very end to hear all of what she has to say. And so, as you can see by today's title, we're talking about domestic violence and why people remain in those situations. So the first question I have for you, Miss Ranika, is what is domestic violence?
Yes. Okay. So if we talk about abuse just in general, right? Abuse is the systematic way in which one person tries to gain power and control over another person, either psychologically, financially, spiritually, and in other ways, right? So if we talk about domestic violence or intimate partner violence, that's the way in which your partner, who you are intimate, boyfriend in a relationship, right, girlfriend, tries to gain power and control over you in the ways that I just named. So, yeah.
Awesome. So the next question is, can you share your personal journey or professional experience with domestic violence?
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before, like, you're talking about how you grew up in a home where you saw domestic violence. Same here, grew up in a home where I saw domestic violence, and it was just a part of my natural everyday life, right? So my normal. And and then I got married pretty young, like right after college, in a relationship in college, and then found myself also in an abusive marriage. And so, but for me, it was very normalized, right? And it took other people outside of the marriage, other friends, where I would just share things normally, like I'm telling a story, and they would say, "Hold up, hold up, sis, something sounds a little bit off." And so, eventually, through time, them walking with me and the church, really, which I know is not a lot of people's story. A lot of people don't have the church backing them when they're in an abusive situation or community. But thankfully, I had good community around me that said, hey, we hear you talk, but some of these things don't sound like they're safe for you or right for you. So when I was pregnant with our fifth child, there was a plan in place that friends came together and helped me with, and we moved in with a friend and her children and her husband. And I gave birth to my fifth child during that time, and eventually, was able to get on my feet and get a job and really kind of start life, I guess, if you will. It almost felt like being a child in an adult body trying to rear five children, right? Because I've spent most of my time, right, watching domestic violence, being a part of it. And when you're in that, your main concern is, how do you please the other person so that you can make peace, right, in the home? And you're worried about everything outside of yourself. And so for the first time, I'm stepping into the world as a 2 or 30 something year old, five children. And now I have to ask myself, what is it that I need to do for my family? How do I pay bills when I never really had access to finances like that? What does it mean to put things on auto pay? Okay, I have to make sure my kids are well while I'm doing all the things. So it's this whole new world of thinking for yourself instead of thinking through the lens of how you can please other people to make peace. So that's my experience. And, from there, it's just a gradual learning of how to adult and be in this world while rearing children.
Listen, the word keep coming to me is courage and bravery. Oh my gosh, it takes courage and to be able to leave a situation like that, but also support. So I could tell you had a great support system. Thank God for that. And
Yes.
this is honestly, everything you just said is the number one reason why people don't leave, because they have to start all over again. Especially whenever you never really been taught how to do certain things, because as we know, people who are perpetrators of domestic violence, they do all they can to have control over everything in your life, right? Including how to take care of yourself and take care of your babies on your own. You have four children and was pregnant when you left your husband.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is so wild. It's so wild
Wow.
to look back on
Yeah.
and think, right, as you say that
Yeah.
about me. I don't know how I could have done it without people around me. And I know that it's not people's stories. I know it's
Mm-mm.
not where people have so much support
Mm-mm.
around. And that was God's grace on me,
Yeah.
for real, for
Yeah.
real. And so now that I know some things, right, a few things, guess what I'm gonna do? Hey, there's this resource. Hey, that's this. You can't pull someone out of the situation, but you can definitely go back and say, hey, these are some things I learned along the way. But yeah.
I definitely agree. You cannot, I was telling you earlier how, I would have clients who are in that situation. And I honestly, I had to make a decision that I only wanted to work with people who were already out.
Yeah.
Because with them being in, I was triggered so much. I would be so frustrated, not necessarily with them, but with the situation, like what's going on? Are they okay? And so I had some, kind of transference going on because, as I told you, Abby said earlier, I was raised in a home where there was domestic violence, right? My childhood was horrible, to be honest with you. I have very few good memories of my childhood. And I remember my mama left. Oh my God, the research showed that it takes 7 times
Mm-hmm.
or someone to actually like fully leave a situation. And my mom went through those phases for sure. And I'm the oldest of four. And girl, this is bringing back so many memories for me right now.
Go for
Oh
it.
my
Yeah.
gosh. So, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I remember my mom. I remember like us like leaving in the middle of the night and we was like walking. We had a few bags with us. And we had moved, girl, we had to go say, I'm gonna live with a family member. She cut all her hair off. My mama had huge, beautiful, thick, hair. And then I didn't understand why she cut her hair. It was cute on her. She had like a little short, like little pixie cut. And she was very petite, very small, kind of like you, very small, beautiful shape. And she left, but we was gone for many, many months. I remember that as she was trying to rebuild, but now I'm a grown woman. As you say, you look back like, wow, like my mama did a lot of stuff to try to leave a situation. And it was hard. It was difficult. I'm like, what's going on? And I just remember so many black eyes, all that, having to go
Oh,
in and say, Mom, get off my mama. Don't touch my mama. Like trying to come in between what's going on. And he would stop, but still, no child should have to go through that. And so
yeah.
I see it from but like me, the little girl, I see myself. I see why growing up, I had so much anxiety,
Mm.
right? Like, am I safe? Like when I get home, what are they going to, happen, right? Is she going to be somewhere in the bed, sleep, knocked out? What's going to happen when I get home from school? Because every day it was something different. And she had an addiction to alcohol. So, all that stuff together is a lot. And so when I
Yeah.
hear your story and I hear you, girl, it's just powerful.
But that's so important. That's so important because, we all can help, but also to notice where you can help and where you're triggered and you can say, I can only go this far, right? So some people can sit and they can walk along with someone through the emotional ups and downs because there's going to be ups and downs. Some people can say, I can provide the physical help. Some people can say, I could provide, to know where you are though along that journey to be able to walk with somebody. Have you ever been able to go back and have like conversations with your mom about those times?
Well, my mom died when I was 11.
You were young.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
in a
sorry.
tragic house fire. So no, we never have that conversation. Now, my mom, like, listen, once again, by the grace of God, I'm in a much better place, and I've done the work.
Yeah.
I've done the work, but I could say that my siblings, a couple of them, they still carry a lot of that,
Yeah.
and I try to support them and give them resources and like you said, information, go to therapy, go see someone, because what you're doing is in a complete alignment with what our mom did, and so it is very difficult. And I always say that some of us sow seeds and water seeds, right? And we do have to be aware of where we fit. And so I love restoration.
Yeah.
So when you get ready to get restored, like, I'm here to help you deal with your
Yeah.
mind, your heart, and do the inner work to heal from being in that kind of situation. But while a person is in it, I was triggered. I was triggered, to come in, some of her hair, miss pieces of her hair, bald spot. I was just, because it triggered me so much I was angry. And then I was thinking about my mom and how I couldn't help her either because I'm a child.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
That's so good. Yeah, there
yeah.
have been times where I had to say, like, this is as far as I can go, but I have some resources that can help you along the rest, this way. So yeah, it's hard. It's work. It's work. Oh yeah.
I like what you were saying earlier too, when you was mentioning about, going through that season of trying to recover and to start all over again. And like that is the number one thing I feel like that fears a lot of people in the situation. So what would you tell someone like in the beginning to like start working on in order to begin rebuilding?
Yeah. Oh man. Ooh, I feel like there's so many different situations in so many different ways, right? So there's the part where you're still with someone, things that you can do to plan, right? And setting money aside, having someone to help you with that and setting money aside and different ways that you can plan, getting documents together, right? Things to keep you safe, having a safety plan. And there are individuals and organizations that can help you through that. But then also, like I said, okay, so I talked about community, right? And I always rep my community, rep my church, because they were there for me. But one of the things that they said to me is, Ranika, it's not just like we just came and we were around you and like that. They were like, you were also a good friend and a part of our community too, right? And being in community. And so one of the things is, I don't know. I look back and I have no other answer. I just don't know how I would have done it by myself. I don't know. I was a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled. So I did not bring in any income, right? So we needed gas. Here's gas money. You need food. Here's food. And then here's someone giving me a job. But also like there are things that we can do along the way. I immediately like started to educate myself. There are so many free resources that I think maybe some of us don't know about, like here in Charlotte, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about more resources. There's Safe Alliance that will help you, right? That will help you get a restraining order if you need, will help you with other things. There are other places that will help you with food. A friend took me, you have different friends. I have the one friend who didn't say a word to me, but just said, hey, listen, on Wednesday, we're going down to get food stamps. And that's it. Put me in the car and took me down. So to take care of food, right? Because it's hard to think in those moments too, because you're just trying to survive. So you can't think all the time of all the details of all the things. And so And so I would say if you do have a community, as difficult as it is, because I definitely was the one who I can do this on my own. I don't need to let anybody in. I don't need to tell anybody. I don't want to lean on anybody until I could no longer. Like I'm a performer, right? By nature. Like that's one of the things I need to work on, right? But I grew up in a home like you with domestic violence. So I learned to perform well. I learned to put on a smile. I learned to not really show my emotions, but until this situation with domestic violence where I no longer could hold it. I couldn't hold all the balls in the air, nor was I meant to, right? We're meant to be in community. We really are. And so I would say if you have a community, which is difficult to be vulnerable with what's happening with the shame, right? The shame why I didn't want to tell anybody. It's embarrassing. I'm in a faith community where divorce that I grew up is like not an option. So I don't want to tell people, but really leaning into community. And if you don't have that embedded community of like a church or maybe even family members, then being able to look ahead at some of those resources in your city where you live that might be able to help you with legal help, with housing, with all the things, just kind of looking ahead and kind of doing the research to be able to prepare you for what is to come. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so good. Like you said earlier, this is such a layered topic. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of hard to talk about just one area without addressing a little bit of the other ones. I like when you said
Yeah.
staying and then when you're leaving, it's different things you need during each phase of that.
Yeah.
And you took the question right out of my mouth when you talked about the shame part and being embarrassed, because that too can be a reason why you stay because you're embarrassed. But I challenge the people who may be listening who's in a situation like this is, what is it costing you to stay?
Mm.
What is it costing you to stay in that situation? Yeah.
Yeah. And, let me speak to the people like me who are educated,
Yeah.
right? Who have a college degree, who have children, who can be self-sufficient. There's so much shame wrapped around in that because you think, I'm an educated woman. I should know better. I should not be in this situation. And it's like, no one is exempt from getting into situations that are difficult or for making decisions or for what we don't know. You know what I mean? You can be the most educated person. So this is not being in an abusive relationship is not an uneducated person's problem, a poor person's problem, or whatever stigma you have around what it is being in an abusive relationship. It touches every race, every color, every culture, every background, So I think shame can grip us from so many different ways, from being educated to being in a religious situation to having status to all these different things. So
That is so true. And, a lot of people are suffering in silence. And people hear the word domestic violence, they automatically think about just it being physical too. And so they think, oh, he didn't hit me, but his words, the
yes.
emotional abuse. Like, I think about people who are narcissists. Like, I've had women who never got hit by men or the person they were with, but my God, their words, how they treated them, behind the scenes, it was just as bad as the physical,
Yeah.
sometimes even worse, right?
What has taken me the long. Yeah.
Um, if you don't mind me asking, how old were you whenever you left your marriage?
Yeah. I was 32.
Wow.
Yeah,
My mama was
32.
32 when she passed away. Wow.
Wow. And
Hmm.
I just turned 39. So yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And your children, have you had that conversation with them or about the thing that happened? Because I know some kids don't remember certain things, but then some kids,
Yeah.
the older they are, the more they remember.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm also learning I have to be careful because my kids are getting older, right? My oldest is 14, my youngest just turned 7. And so like my older child remembers some things that happened. They still do have a relationship with their father as well. And so the way that I talk to my children about it now is I talk to them in a way, not necessarily like this person did this, but I talk to them in a way of what I wish I would have had, right? So
Mhm.
if things happen with their friends or if things happen in the world, we're going to talk about, okay, what does it look like for you to set up a boundary? What did you feel when that person did something that you did not like? Were you able to use your voice? Okay, did you go back to that situation and still not voice what you wanted? So we talk about it in the context of different relationships and what they're going through, because they experience so much at school. My gosh, so many things. And now that I have a teenager,
They do.
so we talk about it in that way. What does it look like to have about what are you feeling? Nobody ever asked me, what am I feeling? What do I feel in my body? Okay, this happened. How do you reset your nervous system, right? And so we talk about it in that way, giving them tools to be able to do that, because I think that those things do have to do with situations that can have power and control, or you allow others to have power and control over you, not using your voice, not understanding who you are. The source of in our home is we use God's word, right? So in order for my children to know who they are, what is the source of who is speaking to them? And so we go back to that a lot of the times. And so I talk to them in that context of like real life situations. Okay, what happened? So did you speak up? Okay. So you didn't speak up this time. Is that something you want to go back to? Okay, then tell me more about that. Why is that? Why is that situation that seems negative and toxic? Why do you seem to be drawn to that? Like, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? So there are things that we are drawn to sometimes, and it's like we need some correction. And so we talk about it in that way. Yeah. Longest to recover from, or what took me the longest, is the psychological abuse, right? It's the questioning of myself. It is because to not know who I am and to be rearing children and to try to live in the world, but the psychological was the most difficult. And my therapist has a quote that I love. She said, the best abusers continue their work even after you're gone. So they're still working here in your mind. They're gone. You left the situation, but so good that it's still in your mind. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is so true. Are you passionate about helping others to heal on purpose? Or are you trying to figure out a way to reach these people and get paid for it? Well, consider becoming a certified Christian life coach. Empower Purpose Academy is the perfect place for you to be able to come and get equipped to be able to help those that God has called you to serve. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you are a leader in ministry, a therapist, or you're a mentor, or someone who is looking to expand their knowledge and to grow their business, my academy is specifically for you. This summer only, I'm having a summer promo. For you to learn more about it, go visit www.empowerpurposeacademy.com. And also, I put the link for you in the description box. All of our students have had nothing but great experiences. Revelation after revelation after revelation of who God has called them to serve. They have received clarity. They have received the tools they need to be able to help those. And not only that, you'll also learn how to set up your business, your structure, how to market, and so much more. This program is very robust. So again, don't forget to go to the link in the description box and download your free guide, 10 Essential Tips to Beginning a Certified Christian Life Coaching Business. Talk to you soon. My oldest daughter, she's 13, and she's
Okay.
more the shy one, the more of an introvert. So I
Mhm.
really had to work really hard with her to say, hey, like, talk to mommy, I'm here. So now she kind of naturally comes around. My little one, complete opposite. She'll tell me how she
Uh-huh.
feels in a heartbeat. Mommy, my heart hurt. My feelings is hurt. I'm sad. Mom,
Right.
I cried last night, because she tell me, which is good, but providing that safe space for them to say, this is how I
Yeah.
feel in this moment. So I'm so glad that, oh my gosh, like, I'm pretty sure when they get older, they're gonna see you as a role model, like, see you as a hero, because you overcome a lot. And I believe in sharing with your children your story. I've counseled so many women who have never heard their mother's
Yeah.
story. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, like, yes, it's spiritual, but also in the natural, you have to have those conversations with your
Yeah.
children about the things you've been through. So one, they won't repeat the cycle. Two, they can get to know who you are and they can learn from it.
Yeah,
And so I've met so
absolutely.
many women our age who are like, yeah, my mom, I don't know anything about her childhood. I'm like, why? Like, she
Yeah.
don't talk about it. And I'm just like, oh, that means she had a bad child. She had a
Yeah.
bad,
She
experience.
not trying to tell.
She don't want to talk
Yeah.
about it.
And I'm such a huge, oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm such a huge advocate of legacy. And I think a part of leaving your legacy is leaving your story to be able to help your children navigate the world, right? In ways that maybe you didn't know how to navigate. And it's so funny. There's so many parenting moments where you really just don't know what to say. You really don't know what to do. And yet, like telling your children, like, I don't know what that means. I'm so glad you brought this to me. I really don't know. Let's pray about it. Let's come back to that thing. But yeah, I'm so huge on legacy, leaving a legacy of faith, leaving a legacy of emotional intelligence, leaving a legacy of just the things that you have learned to give to your kids and your story. Yeah, it can be hard too telling your story because we don't want to face our stories. It's hard looking back at the things that have been hard,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a part of like that healing process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And tell them in a way that they can understand it. Because I remember
Hmm.
when my youngest one, when she was smaller, probably like when she was like 8 or 9, she used to say, I was like, whenever she would go places, which I was already kind of on edge about her going different
Hmm.
places. And I'm like, anyone ever touch you or address you or you feel some kind of way, you need to let mommy know. And I would always ask her that. And she'd be like, Mommy, why do you keep asking me that? And I said, because when mommy was your age, mommy was touched in an inappropriate way. She was like, Mommy, I'm so sorry. And so like they understand it. They, know about my child. They don't know everything, but enough for them to know and understand that mommy has a story. Mommy understands me. And so as they get older, I continue to share more stuff with them. It's age appropriate for them
Yeah.
to understand so they won't repeat the cycle. Like for me, I learn lessons a lot through other people. Like I
Oh
can
yeah.
observe others and learn lessons too. You don't have to go
Yeah.
through everything to learn the lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. See, you're the oldest, but I'm the youngest of five. So I
Mm.
watch. So I watch everything. I'm like, okay,
Oh,
don't.
wow, that's great. That's great. Wow, wow. And so I kind of want to go back a little bit. And I'm sorry, we've been talking. It's been so
No, it's
good.
good.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not somebody.
So whenever you left your ex-husband, was he aware that you were preparing to leave, or did you kind of have to, did you tell him up front, or how did that situation play out?
Yeah. No, I don't think he was aware. There were people kind of working in the background to help
Okay.
kind of like
Okay.
left because we thought that was like the best way.
Yes, yes. And the reason why I ask is that I know that some people, are in situations where they can't say nothing because it's going to
Yeah.
cause a
Oh,
reaction,
yeah.
you
Yes.
know, and sabotaging, right? It's going to happen regardless. If they find out, they're going to try to do it regardless. But
Yeah.
just wanting to know, was he ever aware at any moment
Yeah.
that you were preparing? That's
Which
good.
is another reason why people don't leave, right? Because they are
Yes,
afraid of the reaction of the
yes.
retaliation of them trying to leave. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I heard a lady tell me before. She's older. She's like maybe in her like 60s now. And we used to work together many years ago. And she told me, she said, I left in the middle of the night, but she was,
Hmm.
she didn't have any children. So it was just her and her husband was like away. And she was like, in the middle of the night, she was like, I had all my stuff packed up. My brothers came over and he came home and I was gone.
Yeah.
I never looked back. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah, yeah,
Many stories.
yeah.
Great.
Ooh.
Just
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I know we talked a little bit about, when you staying and then like in that transitional period. Then we talked about the part, about, rebuilding a little bit. And so for you, I know you mentioned before you went to therapy. So how did that play? How did that like, especially as a believer and then having to go to counseling for that specifically, how did that play out for you?
yeah. Yeah. So much of therapy from of what I remembered, it wasn't just the marriage, it was bringing it back to childhood, right? Which is where you go to childhood. And so much was just normalized for me. So it's just like, I don't understand why we're here. Why are we going back to this? And it's just like, this is where it all began. This is where it began to become normalized for me. And at first it was definitely kind of this experience that was like, why am I doing this? This is not what I do. This is not what my culture does. This is not what my people do. And I'm sitting up here in therapy. And But it was one of the best things that I've ever done. One of the best things that I've ever done is being able to share with someone my hurts and my pains without shame, without bias. And I still go. I'm still in therapy. I still go just for different things now, right? Different reasons. It's just great. And have my children, some of my children in therapy, making sure that they get that good start to be able to talk to people. But it definitely was a learning experience of like, this is not what we do. This is not what you don't tell people your business, still along that cultural thing. And it was great. And it was just so healing to be able to see myself, to see why I've made some of the decisions that I've made and to not beat myself up about it, but have so much grace, right? For the 5-year-old me, for the 20-year-old me who got married, right? For the 32-year-old me who left, right? So much grace for those stages and parts of me who actually allowed me to be here, to survive today, right? To have so much grace and understanding of all the stages and parts of me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can just tell by you talking about it and like you've overcome
Mhm.
so much. And it takes courage to be able to share a
Yeah.
story like this as well. And so I'm proud of you. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm
I'm proud
proud
of
of you.
you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you. Okay. I'm so proud of you. And I hope you're proud of yourself for sure.
Yes,
It takes,
I
because yes,
am.
we always hear pray about it, pray about it, pray about it, but you got to do your part.
Well,
You got to do your part too.
absolutely. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. I wanted something different, but not just for me. Like I wanted for my children, but also my children's children's children who I may never see. I want them to feel that somebody did something in their family line that they can have a different experience that I did. Right. So a lot of times we think of that in finances, right? We want to set our kids up so they don't have to struggle. Like I'm trying to set you up with emotional intelligence and like I'm trying to like understand your mind and your brain and understand how to reset your nervous system. Like that's where I'm trying to set you up for a lifetime to be able to navigate this world we live in.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's so true. That anxiety in your body. It's a book called Your Body Keeps the Score. Now,
Yep.
I listen to the audio version of it and I'm
Mhm.
also on YouTube, but I don't really recommend people who are like not, therapists or coaches or, in this mental health advocacy. It's kind of hard to understand. I don't understand this book. So I had to try to like pull information from it to share with them so they can understand it right in their language. But that's a good one. And also a book called Parenting Through My Trauma. I
Mm.
forgot the author, but I'll put the link to that book in the description box. It's a really good book too for those who've been through a lot of trauma. Okay. So speaking of that, you said earlier about your community and your support. The next question I wanted to ask you is that what advice would you give someone who knows of a friend or a loved one who may be in a domestic violence situation?
Yeah. First of all, you can't go in with your cape and be like, come on, sis, or whoever, let's get your stuff. We out of here. And then you go off into the sunset, right? It doesn't necessarily work like that all the time, right? So a lot of it is some simple things, right? Like if you are recognizing those signs, showing up, right? Being there, being able to ask questions, just being there, because what you can do just by your presence, and I'm talking, this is experience, right? Just by having the presence of a friend giving you a different picture of what you are already in, this domestic violence thing, and then someone shows up to walk alongside of you, that's providing you with love, that's providing you with care, that's providing you with attention. Over time, like those seeds are also still being planted. And I really do believe that those seeds trump the negative seeds. So just walking was, I don't know how long that will take, right? I don't know if that's a month, a year, 10 years, but being able to walk alongside someone, right? But also being able to educate yourself about what's happening, because it's very easy for all of us when we're not in a certain situation to be able to look out from the outside and be like, man, I would do this, I would do that. And it's not that easy, but to be able to educate yourself. And I like how you named some resources. And one of the resources that I really love is the hotline.org. It has literally everything we're talking about, right? Why does someone stay in an abusive relationship? You can also call the hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. And I actually called them recently because I'm trying to help someone and I'm like, I don't know the answer to this. They sit with you on the phone. They tell you, okay, this is what you can do. So, and these are free, y'all. These are free resources where you can educate yourself and say, okay, now I understand why it may not be that easy, why this person has children, so they may not feel safe leaving. This person does not make an income. Their abuser is the primary breadwinner. So it wouldn't make sense for them to leave. So being able to walk with somebody, educate yourself, sit with them, but also it's okay to pass the baton, right? To get some other people around you and to say, okay, I sat with Ranika today. She's having a hard day. All right. Can you tap in and check with her next week? Right. I'm pretty sure my friends did that. Like I had a community around me, but I'm pretty sure because you got to take care of yourself too. Right. When you're helping someone, because it can be exhausted. It can be they're ready to leave. They're ready to go. And then tomorrow they're there. They're still there. Right. It can be this roller coaster. And that's what it is, because when you're in an abusive relationship, and I say this all the time, that person who is being abused cannot see things the way that you see it. I compare it to like walking underwater. Things are blurry. You can kind of hear what people are saying, but it's muffled. They can't see with clarity all the things that you see. And so until the time for them to come up, right, rise above the water and be able to walk along the shore with you, you can walk with them in those ways. And it's just that emotional support. Some people can provide financial support, right? Some of the things that are needed, shelter and all those things. Someone provided shelter, finances for me, right? Our immediate needs. And some people can provide those emotional needs, but really being with somebody, validating what they feel, right? Not questioning, you sure that happened, but it seemed like he would do this or that. Validate what the person is expressing to you, because it takes courage to even at the first time tell you, hey, something is wrong, and to be able to open up. So yeah, something as simple as validating people, being there for them emotionally, and believing people and what they say. So those are some of the things I think. Do you have any that you would add to that? Like,
That is so good. I mean, everything you said to me, I 110% agree with. It's just keeping it simple. And you can even ask, what do you need from me? What if someone
yeah,
just randomly confides in you about something? Like, okay, what do you need right now?
yeah,
Because it's in our nature to people who are helpers that want to save them. But you can't, because you end up being frustrated
yes,
because they're not ready. They're not on that state or that level yet to say, okay, I'm ready to go.
yeah,
It's so
exactly,
many different things, parts
exactly,
playing into it. And I like
yeah,
what you said too about the person who in the situation, how they see and hear you, because they're constantly in that fight or flight mode, right? Trying to survive.
exactly. Their goal is to survive for the day.
Survive, exactly,
Yeah,
and do whatever they can to keep the peace as much as possible. So trying to
exactly.
come up with a plan on their own is nearly impossible. It really is, especially when you have children.
Exactly. And I do want to say the hotline.org, that website also has, if someone is planning to leave, they have a whole thing where you can write down your plan to leave, gathering documents, emergency numbers, all the things where you can write down if that person is ready, right, to have a plan to leave. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Also understand, you said earlier, the seeds you sow. So
Yeah.
we might not see everything, full circle with that person and them, like, leaving, but you're sowing those and watering those seeds for that person,
Yeah.
right? A word of encouragement, right? Maybe some gas money or resources, whatever you can do. Those are seeds of hope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I
Mm-hmm.
do want to point out what you said, and it being important for them to be able to do this themselves, right? If you think about it, they're in a relationship where they're used to power and control. That person makes decisions for them. But now is a time where you can empower them to be able to make those first step decisions for themselves and build that confidence and build that self-esteem. So we don't want to swoop in and do all the things, but like give them that chance, that first chance to make decisions on their own, to start trusting what they're doing and the steps that they're making. Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. So you mentioned, I'm gonna put it also in the description, you guys, for those who are listening, but the hotline.org. Do you recommend any other resources or even books that you've read or came across that you
Yeah.
think are really good resources?
Well, of course, The Body Keeps the Score, which you
Yeah.
just said, that one. And I do think you might need to go through that with like a therapist or something, like, because yeah, it's a lot with that one, but it is so good about, how our bodies hold and our bodies remember the things that have happened. So yeah, that was on my list to say. And then, Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft is a really good one, which talks about abuse and talks about why it's happening and power and control. And then I also did name Safe Alliance, which is a resource here in Charlotte. But if you could look up something that is in your city that is equivalent to like a Safe Alliance or a place that will help you. And then when I called the hotline.org, that is like my number one thing. When I called them, they gave me other resources when people need legal help sometimes, right? So womenslaw.org is one place, and then legal aid, which is lawhelp.org. And then there's another one called findhelp.org, which helps people with housing and other resources on that website. So those last three other resources that the hotline.org gave me to be able to help people. And then seeking out therapy, right? Someone that is specifically familiar with and that hones in on domestic violence as well is a great thing to do.
And it's important that they are also trained in that area too, because
Yes.
I definitely wanted some training.
Yes.
When I had that first client I had ever, years ago with the domestic violence, I said, "Oh, I need some more training in this area,"
Yeah.
like, because it was very difficult for me. And I was in there like, "Hey, I have a question. Like, how you guys coping? Like with
Right.
being triggered?"
Right.
And
And
so, yeah.
I love that, Shakita, because so many people like want to be a savior and come in and think that we know everything and have all the resources, but you're like, nope, I need more training. As a
Mhm.
professional, I need more training. So for
Mhm.
you as a professional to say that, how much does it speak for all of us? Well, we can all use help in this area. We can all continue to be educated and not feel like we know it all or have to know it all. So yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. I'm not the person that think I know it all for sure. I know my limits. I know where I begin and where I end. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, Lord, this is not for me. I've had clients before, a lot who would reach out wanting help with like, sex addictions or pornography. And I'm like, I don't have any training in that area. Not because I don't want it, because I don't have the time.
Right.
I know people who can help you in that area. And so, yeah, I'll tell you real quick. That's not my area of expertise.
That's good. That's
Because I
good.
want people to get what they need. And this is why we have the Faith and Mental Wellness podcast, the directory, the summit. Because listen, I don't know it all.
Love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do not mind sharing people information and resources. My goodness. So your story is amazing. I know it's going to bless a lot of people and also shed a light even the more on how we should view people's situations. Everybody's situation is different. And I've actually seen people who have been abused on college campuses where there's young girls who are dating, and probably guys too, and they're being abused while they're in college.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, it's like it breaks my heart. And it's like, what are the things that we can do? And so, like you and I are talking about, maybe we never talked about this growing up. But we can talk to our children about these and, age appropriate ways of things, what to look out for girls and boys, right? Alike, right? Where these conversations are well, we're having these conversations of what it looks like, of
Yeah.
how do we want to be loved? How do we love people? Well, how do we respect people boundaries? Do you know what your boundaries are? Like having these conversations. These are things that we can have. And even us as parents, I grew up or basically like as a parent, can do whatever it is, right? But I need to respect certain boundaries for my children. Like, not, let me see, what's a good example? This is a simple example, right? I just open doors in my house, like, and then my daughter's like, "Mom, I'm in the shower, like I'm in the bed. Can you just knock a little bit?" That's a simple boundary, right? Somebody's in the bathroom, like, nah, she's older, she's a teenager, so that's a silly, like, little example, but what are ways that we can show our children that we respect their boundaries? And I'm a single mother of 5 children, right? So what does it look like for me to show my children, like, how I care for myself, I can say, y'all, I actually need 15 minutes. Like, I'm going to my room for 15 minutes and I don't want anybody to knock. Like, just give me that 15 minutes. That is, oh, mommy just set up a boundary. And now I, as a person, have to respect the boundary that has been set in place. So there are like little things we can do in our home, right? To teach each other, to teach them, what do boundaries look like? How do you set your own? And how do you respect other people's boundaries? So yeah, because it breaks my heart, right? I'm thinking you have a teenager and only in a few years they're going, so it's like
They're going to be
that we
gone.
can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. So you covered a lot today. The questions I did have to ask, you already answered them about how to find resources, other books, how to educate yourself, and so much more. And so, is there anything else that you want to? Oh, I do want to add this. So I also know that even doing the work as well, it's like forgiving yourself, like forgiving the person, the perpetrator. That's a journey too, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so funny you say that because
Mhm.
I was just thinking about this the other day. And it's not like you go through things and then like the
Mhm.
slate is clean and I'll never think about that thing again. Like sometimes thoughts just pop up and you're like, oh God, I remember that. Or you're in a
Yes.
situation your body remembers. And it's definitely been a process. I was literally praying about this the other day and just forgiveness and being like, Lord, are there things that I've left behind, like that I haven't forgiven? And just how it is definitely a process of, forgiving that other person, forgiving yourself and I didn't even realize it until therapy. And my counselor was like, why are you still beating up the 20-year-old, the 20-year-old who made this decision? It's like, oh, I haven't like released her to be like, you made the best decision at the time that you could have. And because of who you were at that time and like your perseverance and your strength, like you allowed this 39-year-old woman to now be the woman who can tell other people about resources and,
Mhm.
talk about it. But yeah, definitely forgiving myself and releasing myself and not holding myself hostage, but looking back on, like I said before, the different parts of myself where I can now look at, the 5-year-old and like, whoa, you experienced a lot. And then the 20-year, it's like, that makes sense that you'll want to marry
Yeah.
at that time. And it makes sense, but also like, quickly being able to do that too, like quickly being able to forgive because I do believe like God has a joyous life for us. Like there is so much joy in what God has done and what he is doing. And so to be able to forgive ourselves, which are things that I still struggle with, right? I still go back to it sometimes. Thoughts come up and it's like, all right, catch it quick. You can sit in it for a little bit, but catch it and like be able to just forgive myself. I'm saying I'm pausing because I'm literally in the middle of it, like really in the middle of like thoughts that have come up, like even just earlier this week. And it's like, oh man, I thought I forgave myself. Am I going back to it or forgiving that person and really releasing the other person too? Because there's so much that I've learned from that. There's so much that I've learned through like Christ and his character of like of forgiveness and being able to like release people, let them people go.
Thank you for
Let
being
people
honest
go.
about that and being bold
Yeah.
to say, I'm still working on that now.
Yeah.
And that goes back to say that it's a journey, it's a journey. I call it residue. That's what I always call it.
Yeah, that's
You
exactly.
you've done most of the work, you've done the core work, you're in a great place, but you still have like maybe little triggers or little things that pop up. Like I call it
Yeah.
residue.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
yeah.
And I'm right in the middle of it. And I think it's a process too of like the stages of that because it's forgiving the other person. And then it's like forgiving yourself. But now I'm also at a stage, I think because I can be at this stage right now, right? I would not be at the stage if I left of looking at myself and saying, okay, well, what parts maybe that you did play in it, right? What are some things that you gravitate to? What are some things that you stay a little too long in? What are some things that you put up with just a little too much, right? I couldn't have done that right after leaving because I would just beat myself up. But now I feel like I'm in a healthy place where I can say, oh, there's some things that I still do and patterns that I still do where I'm like, I let that happen a little too long. You know, I could have pulled out a little quicker than I did before. And so it's just neat to see, to not beat yourself up in shame, but we all have things to work on. And like, what is it I could do just a little bit better next time? So yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop talking about that because I'm in it. That's why I keep talking. I'm like, I'm still processing.
No, it's okay. It's helping somebody. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's good. I love it. I love it. And people, they love vulnerability as well. And they say, hey, like, and a lot of times we keep things to ourselves. We
Yeah.
feel like we're the only one that's experiencing
Mhm.
it. And
Yeah.
that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. Make a note from my therapist on that.
Yes. And you can still be fearless. You can still be an awesome, amazing woman of God, which that's who you are, a woman of God, you know, a woman of faith, and you do so much for the kingdom, right? But you still have your moments, and that's okay.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So when you write your book, are you writing your book yet?
I know. You know what's so funny is like I have like talked to a couple of publishers and stuff, but right now me and my son, who is such an amazing artist, we're working on a children's book right now. So yeah, which talks a little bit about resetting your nervous system, being
Yes.
with 5
Well,
kids. So
listen,
yeah,
when he does it, you let me know. He can be on a podcast
I
too.
sure
Okay.
will. We will come back.
Absolutely.
We will come back.
I would love
Thank
to have
you.
you guys back. It's amazing. It's a
Yeah.
need. It's a
Oh
need.
yeah. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. And thank you. Like this was such a sweet time, like just being with you and like having a conversation, but also being able to give information and to give resources. Just
Yes.
thank you for what you're doing and that emerging that faith and that mental health of where like a lot of us have not had that place to land to talk about all the things, right? So just thank you. Thank you for
You're
the
so
time.
welcome.
Yeah.
Listen, this has been a blessing for me. You know, it had been a lot of work, not the work as far as like meeting the people, but just, you know, all the tech stuff and,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot of work to go into a podcast.
Oh
But
yeah.
the offset for me, the joy for me has definitely been meeting people like yourself who are
Yeah.
amazing, doing great work, who are really giving their time to even come because I know that your time is valued and I value your time and your resources. So thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you too.
Absolutely.
So can you let everybody know how they can find you on social media, your platforms, and things like that?
Yes, absolutely. I am Ranika Speaks, Ranika Speaks, Speaks, everywhere on all social media. So, and I love that because I used to be voiceless. And so I'm Ranika Speaks everywhere. So you can find me Instagram, Facebook. My website is ranikaspeaks.com.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I put the links as well in the description box, you guys. Okay. So thank you, Miss Ranika, so much again for being here. And I look forward to people's feedback on this podcast episode.
Thank you.
Thank you again for being a part of the Faith and Mental Wellness podcast community. Don't forget to visit www.faithandmentalwellness.fave to learn more about our directory, our virtual meetups that we have bi-monthly for healthcare professionals, and to also learn more about our trainings and other resources. Thank you again for being here, and we'll talk to you guys next time.